Commonwealth's attorneys and I have concluded that the NCAA sanctions were overreaching and unlawful.
Someone's got to develop a product that you and I as a consumer are going to want to buy.
The country needs a comprehensive energy plan.
Hello and welcome to another edition of For the Record. We're going to talk about the media today in central Pennsylvania, and I can't think of a better guest to be here than Rob Schmidt, publisher of Bearish Publications. Rob, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Steve. Great to be here.
Now, you've been a veteran of, we were talking about this a little earlier, radio, TV, and print. Let's start talking about the changes that you've seen in the day. Let's start with radio. Back in the day, there were just a few stations here in town owned by a diverse group. Now, the center region has changed quite a bit, don't you think?
Well, it has, Steve. When I first started in radio 30 years ago, for the local advertiser in the community, it was a pretty easy choice. If you wanted the adults, you advertised on WRSC, and if you wanted the students, you advertised on Quick Rock. And there was WMAJ and 103, and that was pretty much it.
Right.
And of course, Congress passed some laws in the late 70s that created these community licenses. So it led to 3WZ and the Bus, and then ultimately a number of other stations. So there's quite a few stations.
Well,
now.
Ironically enough, though, what used to be Quick is now owned by somebody else, but the other stations are all owned by one group. It's sort of an interesting
number one,
dynamic.
you need a scorecard to keep track of the stations and all the frequencies, because a number of them have changed. Quick has now changed frequency, I think, 4 times in its history. So keeping track of where everybody is a little bit of a challenge.
Right.
But the FCC relaxed the laws, and you have companies like Forever Broadcasting that operate 6 stations in the marketplace. And so it's changed the dynamic back from the old days of each operator had one AM and one FM station. So.
And now, as State College has grown, television, back in the day it was either 6 or 10, Johnstown, Altoona. And now, as we sit here today in State College, out of State College, we have WHVL television, which you're familiar with too. A lot of changes there as well.
Well, quite a bit. I mean, when I was a kid, State College was kind of an afterthought to Altoona and certainly Johnstown. WJAC was truly the Johnstown station, but they've realized over the years that as State College has grown, that really it's a 3-city market in terms of Johnstown, Altoona, State College, that there's much more coverage of State College than there used to be. 25 years ago, those stations sold in their own backyard, and there really wasn't much television advertising in the marketplace until cable came in the early 80s. But now you see people like Gene Stocker on television all the time, where 20, 30 years ago you didn't see many local advertisers in the community. But I think JAC and Channel 10 have realized that State College has been a growing market, and that they need to be here.
Right, and that's why this station came about, because of the need in State College for more TV. Print media has changed quite a bit too, and now that's the market that you're in now, the media that you're involved in now. Certainly there's a daily newspaper here in the Center County area, but you also now have the Center County Gazette as one of the pieces inside Bearish.
Right. We acquired that about a year ago, and we moved the publication from Friday to a Thursday publication. We felt that there was a right day of the week to publish leading into the weekend. We also took the paper that had launched initially as a Bellefonte paper and felt we needed to go more countywide with it. And we've been very pleased with the success we've had with the Gazette. And much like Town and Gown, the fact that we're advertiser supported and we're offered free and accessible in a number of locations, actually, we feel we're well positioned in a market where people are getting more and more of their news online and for free, and where newspapers and magazines have struggled with a paid business model to compete with a free business model. But we think we're well positioned going forward to do that.
Let's talk about the Gazette a little bit, changing it from just Bellefonte to the county itself. Was that done from an advertising standpoint, or from an editorial standpoint, or from a combination of both?
I think it was both. It was both. Certainly, most of the businesses, most of the retail shopping is in the State College market, and Bellefonte, retail-wise, really wasn't in a position to support advertising in the paper. Our goal has been to maintain our base in the sense of the Bellefonte area, Bald Eagle, Penns Valley, to continue to do an excellent job of covering those areas with the Gazette, while also covering State College and being much more of a county-wide paper, as well as Phillipsburg. We've gotten good response in Phillipsburg as well.
Let's talk about the flagship of Barish, which is Town and Gown, which most people have seen for forever. You know, how long has the publication been in existence?
Town and Gown launched in January of 1966, so we're a couple years shy of our 50th year with Town and Gown. And it was really initially launched as more of a visitors type publication. Mimi Barish Coppersmith and her first husband, Cy Barish, got the idea from traveling out of town and seeing the types of publications that you could pick up for visitors. But it's really morphed into an interesting combination. When people ask me, is advertisers or potential advertisers, particularly from how they market, they'll ask me, is Town and Gown for the visitors or the locals? And I say yes.
Yes.
Yes. It really is for both. We feel that the stories have strong local interest, but we have elements in Town and Gown like the dining guide and things like that, the calendar of events that are beneficial to people coming in from out of town as well.
Now, Mimi started this. What role does she play now in the magazine on a daily basis, or does she?
Well, it's interesting. Mimi sold the company 5 years ago, really with the idea that she was going to fade towards retirement, but she's really enjoyed it. She works as a consultant part-time. She works on projects that we work on, such as the Arts Festival Guide, which just went to press last week. The Pink Zone, which Mimi is very passionate about. We do a Pink Zone publication. So a lot of charity-related things that we do that has really kept her involved and active. So she comes in seemingly part-time, but every day that she's here, she comes in every morning, and she continues to want to sell advertising and get involved in editorial and really be involved charity-wise in the community.
Now, what does somebody have to do to get invited to lunch with Mimi? What is that?
That's a great question. You know, we collaborate every month on planning issues. In fact, we work about 3 months ahead. We're already planning our October issue, so we've already arranged the lunch with Mimi for October. So unfortunately, Steve, you're not on that list yet. But we collaborate. We discuss various potential guests for lunch with Mimi, and then we bounce it off her, and we try to tie it in with the certain themes that we may have in a particular month.
That's a good stopping point for us right there. Back with Rob Schmidt of Barish Publications when we return on For the Record. Hey, welcome back to For the Record. Our guest is Rob Schmidt from Barish Publications. Rob, we were talking a little bit before the break about you're already looking at October's edition. Here we are sitting in July. How do you balance what you want to do in a publication, since it is a monthly publication, as what can be newsworthy at the time, and if events happen in the meantime, plus that shelf life of the publication? Let's start with ideas. Start with a day-to-day. Monday morning, you get the group together. What do you start with?
Well, Monday morning we talk about what we've got present. So right now we're working on the August issue. And David Pensick, our editorial director, does a great job shepherding everyone together, soliciting ideas from the staff, soliciting ideas from our readers, people in the community. What are the types of things you want to read about? What are some of the neat stories? You know, we're always trying to look for that neat story that other people don't know about. So he does a terrific job of shepherding that. But on Mondays, we're basically working on, okay, what's the issue we're working on? And again, this month it's August, and also some of our special publications that we might be working on for the Chamber or the Association of Realtors. We're working on the State High football program, certain things. We do about 20 additional publications. So in addition to Town and Gown, we're working on those as well. But it is interesting. We've had a couple times in the last 2 years where we've kind of had to stop midstream because of current events.
Sure.
When the scandal hit back in November of 2011, we were about 3 weeks prior to publication. So we pretty much scrapped what we were working on and redid that issue. When Joe Paterno died in February the following year, he died the day before we were going to press.
Right.
So we quickly switched out some stories to try to create some space. So those kind of things happen every once in a while, but we're not in a daily news rhythm as a monthly magazine, so we want to make sure that the stories are reasonably timely, that they fit in with the theme of the issues. But if we see something, let's say, that makes sense for our education issue, which is coming up in August, but it's a good story in February, we're going to run it in February. So we try to balance the themes with the fact that there may be something much more current.
Now, is your editor from a monthly background, or is he from a newspaper background?
David's a newspaper background. He's a Penn State grad who moved back to the area, but he comes from a newspaper background.
Because that's, like we were talking about, this is a niche publication, and you almost need to have that mindset to break away from that daily newspaper kind of thing because of the shelf life especially. And it's not like you're not sending this to the printer today and it's going to be ready tomorrow. This is going to take some time to go through the process.
Exactly. So in many ways, they're more evergreen stories than, say, what we might do in the Center County Gazette, which is a weekly. And sometimes we'll say, you know, this is a better story for the Gazette, or this might be a better story for Town and Gown. But we, you know, we really look, you know, the belief is with Town and Gown that we're about the people, places, and events in the community, that we want to have a cross-section of the community and really, you know, reflect what a great community we live in. We're really not trying to be controversial. Every once in a while we'll tackle tough or controversial issues, but for the most part we'd like to feel that we're a reflection of the community.
Now, how many distribution places are there for Town and Gown?
There are over 450 distribution places for Town and Gown. There are some that are, you know, tons of Town and Gowns go out every month.
Hotels especially.
Hotels, the grocery stores. Our two biggest locations are the Corner Room and Meyer Dairy.
Really?
I think everybody on Harris Township or Boalsburg probably picks theirs up at Meyer Dairy, the waffle shops and things like that. But we're in doctors' offices, banks, but we're in roughly 450 locations throughout the county.
Now, in the old days, I was in circulation in newspapers, so how do you get those out? Who distributes those?
We have some contracted staff, but Handy Delivery, I'll do a plug for my friend Jeff Byers at Handy Delivery. They've been doing Town and Gown deliveries for, I believe, 35 years. So they go out the first day of the month. And then we restock a couple times a week. There's some places like the Waffle Shop that they'll go in a day.
Right.
So we'll restock 2 or 3 times a week.
Now, it comes out on the 1st. What day does the finished product need to be at the printer for it to be ready on the 1st?
Generally about 10 days in advance.
Okay.
So, and that's not a bad turnaround time for us. So generally about the 20th of the month, we go to press, 22nd of the month, and we're out either the last day of the month or the first day of the current month.
Now, have you taken Town and Gown digital yet?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, not only are we online at townandgown.com, and we have a partnership with statecollege.com with both of our publications, but you can read Town and Gown online. It's a service called Issue, and it's a very easy, nice read. It's actually very nice to read on a computer and turn the page and things like that, and that's available online at our website.
Now, because you've gone digital, have you reduced the press run of the copies, or are you still maintaining those same levels that you were at?
No, we're maintaining the same press run, and there are certain times of the year where we'll up the press run if we think that there's a lot more events like Penn State football games and things like that.
Arts Fest right now, which we're part of, that you do a special section for that too. I would think July is going to be one of your bigger...
It is one of our bigger months. We also produce the Arts Festival Guide, which we print 25,000 of those, but we do a minimum of 20,000 every month, Town and Gowns. And a perfect month for us is that they run out right before the end of the month, and that's what we kind of strive to do in terms of our distribution. But the fact that we're accessible in 450 locations and we're free, as I mentioned earlier, is really our model, and we think it's a good model in an environment where print products are really struggling nationwide.
One of the print products that does very well is the football edition. We're going to talk about that when we come back. You're watching For the Record on WHVL. Back with more right after this. And welcome back to this edition of For the Record. Rob Schmidt from Bearish Publications is our guest, and we're going to talk about this publication right here, which comes out today. It is the annual Penn State football edition. It's got to be huge for the company because Penn State football is still Penn State football.
That's right, and you're the first person with a copy.
Well, there you go. We break news here.
Literally came off the press. It's a publication we've had for over 20 years. What's neat about it, a local sportscaster called it the all-star team of sports writers, because David Pensick, our editor, picks some of the top writers on the Penn State beat, many who've been around for years, to do stories in it. And it's neat. There's an interview with Bill O'Brien. The cover story's about Allen Robinson. And even though it's July,
sure,
Penn State fans we get phone calls almost every day. When's it coming out? When's it coming out? They're chomping at the bit because they want to read about Penn State football.
Have you seen a change from your readership in the difference between Coach Paterno and Bill O'Brien? The love for the team. Have you seen anything there?
I mean, that's an interesting question, and we could probably spend a whole show talking about that.
We'll go for a while.
I think, it's a Bill O'Brien era. I think you can support Joe Paterno
Absolutely.
and still support Bill O'Brien. But in terms of loyalty, I think Bill O'Brien's done a great job carving his own niche and moving ahead. So we'd like to think that the loyalty is still there. It's still a loyalty to Penn State. And from what we're anticipating, we believe we're going to sell quite a few of these. We typically sell close to 20,000 each year, mostly on newsstands, also on internet sales. And interestingly enough, more than half of what we sell is down in the Harrisburg area.
Sure.
It's such a hotbed for Penn State football, and so obviously we'd like to see the stadium filled and the support for the team.
Well, it's part of the town and gown mindset which created this publication in the first place.
Absolutely.
Of Bearish. Let's talk about the media in general now. Where do you see things going in terms of media driving stories as opposed to reporting stories? What are your thoughts on that?
Oh boy, I don't know. I am a media junkie. I mean, I try to watch the.
You can't be in the business as long as I have without being that way.
And you're absolutely right. I watch the Sunday news programs, whether it's Meet the Press or Fox News Sunday or ABC, and so it's interesting to see the race to get the stories, and a lot of the stories we've seen lately where misinformation, whether it's the Boston bombing or things like that, where they're rushing to get the story. It's certainly a different time than it was when I was younger, when you got your news every night at 6:30
right. on
3 network newscasts. So that's certainly changed. Certainly younger people are not watching the nightly news. They're not watching local news. It's interesting when you hear that they're getting their news from Comedy Central, or they're certainly getting it from their PDA, but they're not getting it from traditional television. And that's a challenge for local stations to be relevant, and that's
Sure.
why local news, whether it's what you're doing or whether it's what WJAC or TAJ is doing, or whether it's what we're doing with a
right.
publication like the Gazette, is so important that really local news is what's going to continue to drive.
Are you glad to be out of that have to get it immediately race?
Yeah, that's it's happy in some ways, but getting it immediately is there's a real rush sometimes,
Sure.
even in a major event. I remember I was running WRC and the Bus and those radio stations back when 9/11 hit, and certainly it was a tragic day.
Course, right.
But just to see the staff all get together and rush and try to report to the public to the public an important news story, or when we had the blizzard back in '93 and some of the things where it's 24/7, and you realize how important the media is to the community, that the instantaneous news of TV and radio is still relevant, it's still important. I'm sure the media in New Jersey during the hurricane, you know, you realize your importance, and it does make it exciting even when the events are tragic.
You live now in a print world.
Yes.
You're printing a weekly and you're printing monthlies. Where do you see the, and this is going to sound odd, do you see daily papers continuing? I mean, the Patriot News is down to 3 days a week now. Where do you see the future of, do you think there's going to be many dailies left in, say, 5 years?
I can't give you a time frame. It seems to be happening rapidly. You know, certainly the Patriot News is putting their investment into their internet site with Penn Live, going to 3 days a week. I don't live in Harrisburg, so I don't know how people have responded to it. I like getting a newspaper. I like reading a newspaper, and I know there's a lot of people that still do. But as the demographics age, you're going to see it more online. So it's hard to say, you know, what the economics are. You know, certainly the advertising economics are important. You know, your local daily paper would cost $5–10 if it wasn't for the advertisers that support it. We're fortunate that we're able to offer our products free because of the advertisers. But that's the biggest challenge. You know, the days of selling double-page furniture store ads or full-page car dealer ads are really declined, and that's really what sort of the daily newspaper, much more than the readership, has.
So really media had to convert a ways to market themselves as a, you know, change, instead of from the column inch to now it's hits per or whatever, something like that?
Right, and that's been the biggest challenge for daily newspapers, is being able to convert the paid newspaper model to a paid internet model when you're not selling full page ads anymore. And that's been the biggest challenge to the daily newspaper, and quite frankly, in many ways, it's become a delivery mechanism for circulars. You don't see advertising within the paper from a Walmart or a Best Buy or a Dick's Sporting Goods, but every Sunday that paper is pretty heavy, filled with circulars, and so the dynamic has kind of changed in terms of how newspapers work.
Does State College realize they're bigger now than Johnstown and Altoona? Quick.
Bigger?
More important.
Yeah, I don't want to say we're better or bigger, but certainly more important.
Thanks for doing this. You've been watching For the Record on WHVL. Thanks for joining us. Bye-bye.